Today is an exciting day. Granted, every day is an exciting day, but today is about the Khopesh, an Egyptian Khopesh, which I don't think there's other nationalities of Khopesh. So we're looking at the Khopesh. I wanted to do it out of poured bronze, so I get to start with a cast. So this is my first. It's not bright enough. I need to start again. Hold on. Okay, we're trying again. And today we're talking about the Khopesh, specifically the Khopesh that I've made. So Khopesh was a sword that was found in 2300 BCE, before current era. And they were poured out of bronze, because it was the Bronze Age. So I got to start with making one of these, which is made out of red oak, plaster, primer, and a whole bunch of time. This went to be cast, and it came back as this. So 3.7 pounds of bronze. That includes all of the stuff that needs to be cut off, of course. I think it's really cool that to make sure that the blade is got a solid pour, you draw these little lines in the sand, so when the bronze pours in, it pours into those to make sure all of that gets nice and filled up. It's complex and simple. It's an awesome process. 90% copper to 10% tin, and you get this beautiful flame coming off of the actual crucible. It's fabulous, but it needs a tremendous amount of work. So this then becomes, and through the power of wonderful editing, this, what is, well, at least what I'm calling the finished Khopesh. Wow, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. So it's all bronze. The edge has been polished to 800 grit, and then it's still polishing. I guess it's buffing at that point to get to that next level. The inside channel has been oxidized, as has the suba and the guard. The difference being the guard, the hand guard, that's not a guard, that's the pommel. Let's talk about the pommel. It was polished and then it was oxidized to give a little lighter color than the actual guard and the channel going up the blade. That I left just as from the casting sand, so you get it's a beautiful texture that you get, and you get a darker oxidization than you would on a polished. Jingle bells. Note, if you're if you're oxidizing bronze, you heat it up with the torch past the point that you can touch it. It should burn your fingers at that point. You want to get it hot enough so it's past 100 degrees that when you're spraying either your vinegar or your bleach solution onto the blade, it will sizzle off and go black. It starts off as a kind of a light brown, slowly goes darker, and if you continually go, you'll oxidize it to the point of green, and you can make the whole color green. If you leave it unclean, so in other words, you've sprayed the bleach on and just walk away, it will go green on itself and it will continue to oxidize. So if you found a color that you want to stay with, you need to clean it. Either you can oil it afterwards, but if you oil it, you're gonna have to continue oiling it, or you can do a top coat, like a clear coat, and that will stop all oxidation, but you can't use it any longer. This one I wanted to keep traditional, so this is oiled. It's with my peppermint oil. It's well, it's just, what is that? It's an essential oil mixed in with my mineral oil. Because in Japan they use a clove oil, and I like the scent of peppermint better. The handle is purple heart, and on this side I burnt a little bit of it to give it more depth, more character. I really wanted this to think that this was found, and it just stayed in good condition. There's stories of old Japanese swords that have been found in barns and storage areas, but they were polished so well and oiled so well that 50 years later they pull them out and they're still gleaming. I like that idea. Bronze most likely would not have come to that, because I don't know if they would have even bothered oiling bronze, but I do. So this has been just an absolute fabulous project, and I want to be able to do more bronze projects because I just had so much fun. I think for training tools, it's just a fabulous idea. It's just fabulous. I'm talking about a little bit of history of the Khopesh because I want to. Because the history is really quite interesting, because when Egypt was in power, they were the power. And many cultures, many groups of people wanted to take that power away from Egypt, so they would invade. And invaders would make sure they had the best weapons because they had to go against the Egyptian forces. In most cases, the Egyptian forces would win out and then collect all of this New Age weaponry. I believe the Khopesh was one of those weapons that they had. You know what, I don't know what I'm basing that on. Just erase everything that I've just said. I can't state where this actually came from, other than I know Egyptians used it and most likely modified it. This is based on one from Tutankhamun. This is and two others. Specifically, this hook, some have it, some don't. The one I really liked, it was super oxidized, super old, but much straighter, but still only 24 inches roughly, had this hook. And I think the hook is just a supreme advantage looking at their warfare, when many times they'd go against shields and they'd have not only two weapons in each hand, but they would work in pairs, usually with someone with a straight sword. So my thought is you can reach around a shield, pull that shield open kind of like a can opener, and open up to either your spearman or your straight swordsman. Or it was just a line that made it look cooler, because I think it looks cooler like that. And that of course is not at all traditional. I've taken the scarab, I don't know why I confuse both those words. The scarab from the culture, and then the wings of Isis. I believe both represent longevity and a cyclical existence. What a fun project. Though I did learn something. I've always learned something. Originally, this was going to be all dark, all oxidized, and I was going to leave the polished portion, much like the pommel, to go that aged. And halfway through, I decided, no, it'll look better if I actually polish it. It'll be more dramatic, because it's got to be dramatic. If it's not dramatic, what's the point? The downside of doing it that way, or changing halfway through, meant I had to now cover all this area, because I polished this first before I did the handle, because it was all to be oxidized. So what I did was I polished it up to 200, and then I covered it in nail polish. Nail polish is fabulous because I could protect it and I could oxidize the actual bronze, and it didn't actually take away the strength from the lacquer, which I was really surprised. It withstood 100 degrees, no problem, and a large flame. So I polished, and then I oxidized, and then I had to do the handle. Do the handle, then do the oxidizing, then do the polishing. It's a good lesson. Let's work in reverse. The handle also is definitely not, this is modern. One, it's about 3/4 of an inch longer than a traditional Khopesh. Their handles fit much tighter in the hand. And two, I've got a wood handle. In most cases that I came across, that you would also, this would have been bronze. It would have had like a half circle going all the way down to give it the strength. And then it would have been wrapped in white linen. Looking back, I would have, I think, rather have had the bronze handle. I wanted to keep the weight down, but now, well, it's done. I can't go back to this point. This is one of a kind. There is not another sword like this. There's a sword kind of like this, but not exactly. Just wondering if I should go into any other details. What have I forgotten? What have I missed? Probably a ton, because this job took a long time. But, well worth it. Well worth it. So lastly, I have to wander off of this portion. But with editing, it never lasts long. I've made a wonderful, I'm so... Just right? Just, it holds. I don't trust it. It's time for me to get on to something else.
Thank you to all of my Patreons on my Patreon page, 9 Directions. With your help, I'm able to take on really cool projects just like this one. For everyone else, why don't you check out my Patreon page? It's got lots of custom content and lots of cool stuff if I do say so myself. So come check us out. Okay, now I really got to get back to work.